What's going on, everybody? Josh Armijo here. Hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the new album from the band Befouled, entitled Revulsion of Seraphic Grace. This is released on Dark Descent Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they're based out of both Illinois and Georgia. And the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very dark, foreboding, incantation worship style of death metal. Just absolutely twisted, demented, musically and lyrically. I got introduced to this band a couple of years ago with their second album, Morbid Destitution of Covenant. I thought that album was just pure brilliance, pure genius, just the way the vocals sounded, the way the guitar sounded, just that overall evil atmosphere surrounding everything. I thought that album was just absolutely amazing, and if it wasn't for that album, I would have never have gotten into their earlier material, like their Profano Ad Regnum EP or their first album, Obscurus Nex Cultus. I thought that material was just absolutely amazing, and it really got me pumped to know more about this band and to know more about what was going to be in store for them. I've been anxiously anticipating this album for quite a while, ever since I first heard that they were going to sign to Dark Descent Records. I didn't know when the album was going to come out, what it was going to be called, or how it was going to be released. But until they made everything official, until they had everything ready to ship out and all that other stuff, I just was waiting in anticipation. And now all this time later, we get to Revulsion of Seraphic Grace. It's 7 tracks, and it runs around 36 minutes in length, which, in a way, is kind of a return to the Father Befouled of old, because the last album had, I want to say, about 11 tracks. The first album had like 7 songs on it, so this album has 7 songs, and it's a return to pretty much an old staple of theirs, I guess. I've given this album a lot of listens, and I can safely say this album not only exceeded my expectations, but this album just further proves why I love death metal so much. This is why it's my favorite genre of metal, as opposed to a lot of other things that I love as well, but death metal really is number one for me. And this album just absolutely proves that. The guitar work on here is just absolutely crushing. I just love the way that the riffs sound. There are so many memorable riffs to be found on here. Just the way that they are played, just the way that it sounds, the way that it's mixed. Just that sense of fear going on when you hear the guitar work, especially when it comes to the more frantic solos, like on the tracks Irreverent Ascendancy and Obscurance of Universality. Those songs really have some solos that really just are pretty haunting. And really, the guitar work all the way throughout is just absolutely amazing. I just love the way that it sounds. It's just dark, brooding, and just scary at times. The bass is very clear and audible. You can definitely feel it creep up on you when the time is right. It's very well done, well performed, well mixed. I just love the way the bass is on this album. It's a lot more clearer than in previous records in my view. The drums are your usual Father Befouled drums. They sound a lot more clear and concise. I'm loving the speed of the double bass, just the way that it just creeps up on you, the way that the snare and tom kick sounds. It's just really, really great. Yeah, just a lot of solid syncopation when it comes to the drums. It's very, very good. And the vocals, if you've never heard the Father Befouled vocal style, it's an almost guttural, whispered type of a growl. I revert back to the incantation comparisons. It's like you're listening to Craig Pillard just a little bit, but the vocals are a lot more hushed and whispered. I love his vocals on the last album, but I honestly didn't really hear it as clearly as I would have liked. But on this album, I can hear his vocals a lot clearer and a lot more concise. Just his delivery is just absolutely bone-chilling. just the way he delivers the lyrics, the way he speaks, and the way he just gets his point across. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's just scary. Really, really strong vocals here. And really, Justin is one of my favorite vocalists when it comes to this style of death metal. It's just amazing. And I appreciate the patience and fortitude of the final track of this album, Triumvirate of Liturgical Desecration, which is around 9.5 minutes. It's the longest song on this album. Really, there's a lot of twists and turns on that song. It's just very, very heavy, very crushing. There's just a lot to sink in and let it get inside you. It's just absolutely amazing. So, I said earlier in the year that the new Cattle Decapitation was my album of the year. Well, this album comes along and will most definitely try to replace it. This album is just absolutely monumental, to me at least. I love the way that the music is, I love the balance, I love the structure, I just love how heavy the music is, just the feelings you get when you put this album on. It's just absolutely amazing. I love this album, and it's everything I wanted it to be, and a great deal more. If I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would have to say Indulgence of Abhorrent Prophecies, because it just starts, this album starts off right away and just goes right into the jugular with the crushingness of that song. Wow. I'm also loving Irreverent Ascendancy, Obscurance of Universality, and the last track, Triumvirate of Liturgical Desecration. So if you're into stuff like Incantation, or Necros Christos, or Absu, or Funebrarum, any of those kind of bands, this is definitely a band to support and check out. So I'm going to show you the album again. This is Revulsion of Seraphic Grace by Father Befouled. This is released on Dark Descent Records. Support this band. This is mandatory purchasing. And if I had to give it a score, I'm going to give it the highest score I can possibly give, and that is a perfect 10 out of 10. This is just absolutely crushing death metal, the way that it's supposed to sound, and just the feelings, overall atmosphere of it just works so good. I love this album, and it will most likely be my album of the year come year's end. So, support Father Befouled. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and until the next time, Armijo out.